Get it in stores, so go to xout.com now for your free gift and free shipping.
NASCAR is heading to Texas, where there are big screens and big speeds.
Break out the cowboy hats for Kyle Busch, scoring his first Sprint Cup victory at Texas Motor Speedway.
Kevin Harvick started the year strong, but has struggled recently.
Everybody's a little bit frustrated and just wants to, make sure that we get all this out of the way and start capitalizing on the cars that we have.
We catch up with Trevor Bayne as he's pulling double duty in Texas.
I think it's a great thing. The more you can be behind the wheel, learning the tracks, even though we've been there before, you still learn what the track does as the weekend goes on.
NASCAR America is next. As the Cup Series heads to the Lone Star State, there's still quite a few great drivers without a win this season. That means we could see our 7th different winner to start the year. And with speeds this fast, the action always heats up at Texas Motor Speedway. Hello and welcome to NASCAR America. I'm Rick Allen. Phoenix winner Kevin Harvick is with us today, as well as nationwide title contender Trevor Bayne. And we're going to focus on Arkansas in today's State by State. But first, let me welcome in from our Charlotte studio former Cup driver Wally Dallenbach and crew chief Frank Stoddard. Guys, the cars hit the track in Texas tomorrow. What's the key to a successful driver-crew chief combination there?
Rick, for me, it's going to be all about the tires. And there's a couple really important things this weekend. This racetrack is really demanding on the tire wear, which we love as crew chiefs. We love that. It makes for a really difficult package to get to work. But the important thing is to get them to work good for a 50-lap run or a 45-lap run on fuel. But then in the end of the race, we've got to get the car working well enough to where, with this format this year, of guys really gambling late in the race, got to be able to probably put on 2 tires if we're running 10th to 15th to 20th on the racetrack and take a chance on getting a win, stealing a win away from somebody that might have been dominant all day.
I'm just concerned about him getting the car right. I mean, hey, listen, you need a lot of grip on this racetrack. Like Frankie said, this place it's tough on tires. You're going to be sliding around and everything. So, my concern is getting this car comfortable at the speeds that we're going to be running at Texas, or these guys are going to be facing this weekend. But he's right. You also want to be good enough when you show up at that racetrack to throw some 2-tire changes on there. Practice this stuff on Saturday and Friday, because on Sunday you only get 1 shot at it. And like Frankie said, I mean, it might be enough to put you in victory lane.
Good driver crew chief communication is key. Guys, I want to get your opinion on something NASCAR chairman Brian France brought up this week regarding horsepower for the Cup cars. He said on a Sirius XM NASCAR radio interview, the engine will get a significant change. I'm not going to say for 2015, but we are certainly sizing that up. It's very important for us to get that right. Now, Frank, you've been vocal about this topic for quite some time now. Is this the right step to reduce horsepower right now?
Well, I think, first of all, the right thing is the fact that Brian France is saying maybe not for 15, but he's really going to look at it. And he's looking at it based on the test that we had this fall in Charlotte, in December in Charlotte, which they worked on the aero package, but they also reduced the horsepower by about 100 horsepower on the engine with a tapered spacer, much like what's on the nationwide cars. It was a dramatic difference, night and day difference on the racetrack, okay? I mean, the racing was better, the pack was tighter together. Kevin Harvick, without the tapered spacer, was lapping cars 15, 18 laps into the run. With the tapered spacer, at 25 laps into the run, he hadn't lapped anybody yet. Dramatic difference.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one. If I'm going to put my driver hat on, I don't like this at all, because if I'm driving for a Gibbs Racing or Childress or a Hendrick, you're taking away my advantage. These guys work really hard in the engine department, and if you can give me a few extra horsepower at Pocono or Michigan or wherever these places that we go at, that's all the difference I need sometimes to make it between 5th or victory lane. So listen, I don't like it as a driver. I think it will make better racing. I think that's probably unquestionable. But if I'm going to be sitting in that seat, I hate this rule.
Well, there's a big shocker. I've got a crew chief and a driver that don't get the same opinion on something like this.
Well, but Rick, here's the thing. It really comes down to what is going to be best for the fans, okay? It's not about what Wally thinks and what I think. It's about what we see visually on the racetrack, how to make the racing better. And we saw at Charlotte that reducing horsepower did make the racing better. Now, the fact that we've gone and made the cars faster this year with the aero changes that we've made, I don't really agree with that, because now we're going to go back the other way next year. But we do have to slow the cars down somehow.
And I disagree again with Frank. I think it should be a lot with what Frank thinks and what I think.
Well, I'll tell you right now that one person does agree with you, Wally, and that is Ryan Newman. He said, instead of lowering horsepower, I believe we should take the downforce off the car so it requires the driver to pedal the car. And then at the end, he said, I hope nothing changes. I actually was able to speak with Kevin Harvick earlier today on this subject. He said, as a driver, more power makes the cars more challenging to drive, and I like that. So he also wants to keep that same horsepower. Well, since winning at Phoenix, it's been a real struggle for Kevin Harvick. At Las Vegas, he was running second until he broke his left front hub. At Bristol, he was crashed after losing his oil line. At Fontana, he was one of many drivers to deal with tire problems. And at Martinsville, he finished seventh, but only after dealing with rear-end issues. Kevin has made the transition to Stewart-Haas Racing without breaking stride, and our Marty Snyder caught up with him at the race shop as the crew finally got a chance to celebrate their victory from Phoenix.
Well, Rick, Kevin Harvick and I are living by a new theme. It's never too late to celebrate. He's here this weekend at Stewart-Haas this week celebrating the Phoenix win from a couple of weeks ago, and it's always fun to get together with the guys, Kevin, and celebrate, especially when you're celebrating a win.
Well, it is, and it's ironic that we're celebrating this week after Kurt won over the weekend. So everybody's definitely pumped up, and I know as we came into the year, there was a lot of questions about how we would run. I think we answered those right off the bat, and everybody's done a really good job of putting together another team and new crew chiefs and new cars and everything coming together. So it's been a very busy start to the season, and that's probably why it's taken this long to get to the victory lunch. But everybody's been on the West Coast and racing back and forth to the East Coast. So it's been very busy, and just glad to get everything settled down.
You talk about how quickly things have come together, especially with you and Rodney, and arguably you guys have had really the best car almost every week, but little things have kept happening. Number one, how do you be a cheerleader on the team and not let that get everybody down and just take from it that you've been fast every week?
Well, the cars have been very fast. Obviously, we've had some mechanical gremlins pop up and bite us. And you could say unfortunately while you're in position to win races, but I think we were fortunate to be in that position to have the chance to run like we have all day. We just hopefully have started knocking those out of the way, and we'll have all the good luck take effect at the end of the year. So with this new point system, it's really all about winning races. So I think that eases the pressure a little bit on everybody to know that you've been in position to win more races, but winning gets you at least a good opportunity to have a chance at being in the first round of the playoffs.
Has it been frustrating at times, though, to have cars like that in contention to win and not be able to get it done?
Honestly, it's a little bit of an adjustment for me. I've never really been in position to win that many races in a row. And so, even like at Martinsville last week, we finished seventh, and everybody was a little bit frustrated because of the fact that we knew we had a car that was capable of winning, and we kept having to go to the back of the pack to work on the car. But week in and week out, the cars have been fast, and I think everybody's a little bit frustrated and just wants to, make sure that we get all this out of the way and start capitalizing on the cars that we have.
Talk about Texas. What are some of the challenges of that racetrack? Very bumpy, and it really wears on the tires, doesn't it?
Well, it's probably going to create a few more challenges. I think as you've seen the first part of the years, the cars are very fast with the new ride height rules and the spoilers and everything that come with it. And I believe this tire comes out of the same family that we had of tires that we had at California. So has a lot of the same characteristics, wears the tires a lot, has a lot of bumps that are going to be bumps that are at higher speeds than we've probably taken them before, with a lot more load on the left side tires than we've had there before. So probably going to see some new challenges pop up, and this Texas is kind of the first one that's similar to one of the first 6 tracks that we've raced on, so it'll be an interesting weekend.
He knows his way around Texas. Won there nationwide before in his last 4 Cup races, 3 top 10s at the track, Rick.
Yeah, Marty, and the powerful statement that I heard out of Kevin Harvick was he thinks that he can win every race, and he feels like he's in contention. Guys, is that a surprise, a guy at a new team thinking that he can win every race?
Well, I don't consider it a new team. I consider it a championship team. Tony Stewart just won the championship, what, three years ago in that program. So the foundation is there. In Stewart-Haas Racing, 10 years that team has been in business. So they already have all the background. The fitness equipment is there for the pit crews. Everything is there. All Kevin and Rodney Childers had to come in and do is bring a few folks in to work on their car, with the foundation behind him, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and you know, they've had some disappointments in the last few weeks, but I mean, when you're a race car driver and you're going to the racetracks and your car is up front and has an opportunity to win every single weekend, those disappointments go away really quick because they've got a very strong team this year, and I think if they can keep it up, and they're in a great position because they're in the chase right now, so they're getting to try a lot of things. So I think when it comes down to chase time, these guys are going to be tough.
Confidence very high for that team. We're going to hear from you guys in just a bit, so sit tight. And Trevor Bayne won a 2011 nationwide race in the Lone Star State. He'll look to capitalize this weekend on his knowledge of the tough Texas track.
2011, we were able to get my first nationwide win. Texas is a really tough track. Sometimes you hit it really good, and sometimes you hit it really bad. There's not really an in-between there.
NASCAR America is brought to you by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control.
This weekend in Texas features action for both the Sprint Cup and Nationwide Series. The Nationwide race is tomorrow night in prime time. Saturday, Cup cars will qualify and then race on Sunday afternoon. After a week off, the Nationwide Series gets back on track tomorrow night at Texas Motor Speedway. It's a close points battle as the top 5 separated by just 11 points. So that is extremely tight. And Trevor Bayne is heading back to a track where he's already notched a win. Let's go to Kelly Stavis, who's with the 23-year-old.
Trevor Bayne will be back in Sprint Cup action this weekend with Wood Brothers Racing. Trevor, it's just your 3rd start of the season in that series. What is the biggest challenge of running a limited schedule as part of a small one-car team?
The hardest part, you know, is just not being there every single weekend to get the experience and to get that chemistry really rolling with a team. Even though I've been with the Wood Brothers for the past few years, it's still hard when you take 3 weeks off and then come back to the track, especially as much as the cars have changed over the last year. With the Gen 6 car, with the new rules packages, things are changing really fast, and teams and drivers are learning a lot as they go, and we're having to take little breaks in between. So it'd be nice to be out there every single weekend, but we take what we have and try to make the best of it. So the hardest part is just keeping your expectations realistic when you show up at the track. I want to win every single race, but knowing that we're a small team, we're not there every weekend, it's tough to run top 15 in the Cup Series, so when we do that, it's still a good day.
Meanwhile, you're tied for the points lead in the Nationwide Series with Roush. You head to Fort Worth. You've had a win there in Nationwide back in 2011. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like it's been the best track for you. What do you need to do to get the 6 back in victory lane?
Well, last season we actually had one good run there, and then it came down to the end while my crew chief Mike Kelly was in the hospital. Came down with like 5 to go. We got grass all over the front of the grill and had to pit. Finished 30, 34th, something like that after running top 5 majority of the day. But with Chad Norris, like you said, in 2011, we were able to get my first nationwide win. Texas is a really tough track. Sometimes you hit it really good, and sometimes you hit it really bad. There's not really an in-between there. One thing that comes to mind is just how loose the track seems to get as the race goes on. So we're going to try to stay ahead of that, and we'd love to get Advocare and Victory Lane at their home track. You know, it's been great representing them this season, and they build champions, and right now we're tied for the points lead, so we'll see if we can't hang on to it for a long season.
Running both series, of course, means you're pulling double duty this weekend. Does that work to your favor, or is it just an added challenge for the weekend?
I think it's a great thing. The more you can be behind the wheel, learning the tracks, even though we've been there before, you still learn what the track does as the weekend goes on. If it changes a lot between practices or qualifying or the race, it gives me that little bit of edge on some of the other nationwide guys that some of the Cup guys have every single weekend. People wonder why it's always the same 5 guys running for the top 5 that are Cup drivers, and a lot of that is just track time during that weekend, seeing what they can learn, and I'm glad to be a part of that this weekend.
All right, Trevor Bayne looking to pick up another nationwide win where it all started from back in Texas. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Now, Wally, I want to ask you, Trevor Bayne's only 23 years old. Did winning the Daytona 500 take him out of the young driver category and put him into the veteran category yet?
No, I don't think so. And I'm you know, watching this interview, I'm trying to figure out. I think you know when you're a veteran, when the other drivers use your name instead of an adjective in describing you. That's when you know you're a veteran in the garage area. You know, I think obviously Trevor, you know, won the Daytona 500 race, and a lot of people trust racing with him. But I don't know, Frankie. I think you have to be in the series for 3 or 4 years before you kind of get that, oh, he's still a rookie shine off you?
I've been thinking about it too, and I think somewhere around 35 years old. I think that it's more about not just about what you do on the racetrack. It's also how you mature off the racetrack. And so when I consider a veteran, it's somebody that I want to go talk about a multitude of things. I might want to go ask him, how do I do an interview? How do I handle all the obligations of the media, and how do the fans, and all the different things that go with it. I think Joey Logano, and he's a winner, right? He's running the top 5, he's running the top 10, but he's still trying to figure that type of stuff out.
And he's been there this is his 6th year.
Yeah, and Kurt Busch, Kurt Busch is 35 right now, and he did a great job the other day interviewing after Martinsville, right? But he's grown up a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's the number.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll get your picks for this weekend in just a bit. But first, we pay a trip to the natural state. Arkansas is the next stop on our state-by-state tour.
Four-wheel channels with just a click of the remote. Experience the high-definition DVR with TiVo from DirecTV.
This day in NASCAR, 1960, John Rostick records his only Cup win at the Arizona Fairgrounds in Phoenix. In 1966, David Pearson, the Silver Fox, wins at Hickory to start a 4-race win streak. And 3 years ago, Kevin Harvick recorded his first Martinsville Cup win. Well, this weekend, NASCAR makes a stop at Texas Motor Speedway, and today we pay tribute to one of the Lone Star State's neighbors, Arkansas, the birthplace of the 42nd President Bill Clinton and music legend Johnny Cash, the natural state, voiced by our good friend Eli Gold.
NASCAR's connection to Arkansas dates back to 1954, when the Cup Series ran its first of 5 races at the Memphis, Arkansas Speedway in Lehigh. NASCAR Hall of Famer Buck Baker won the inaugural event at the 1.5 mile high bank dirt oval just west of the Mississippi, a track which to this day is the biggest and fastest dirt track that NASCAR has ever raced on. 2 of Arkansas's native sons more than made their mark in NASCAR. Little Rock's Bill Davis and Batesville's Mark Martin ran the NASCAR Nationwide Series together in the late 1980s and early 90s. The longtime friends scored 3 wins together before Martin continued his focus on the Cup Series and Davis took on a young, up-and-coming driver from the Midwest. Jeff Gordon and Bill Davis won 3 Nationwide Series races together in the early 1990s before Gordon moved up to the NASCAR Cup Series with Hendrick Motorsports. Davis started his own Cup team and scored his first of 5 wins as an owner with Ward Burton in 1995. Bill Davis Racing and Ward Burton went on to shock the NASCAR world with their stunning upset victory in the 2002 Daytona 500. Mark Martin, meanwhile, cut his teeth on the short-track bull rings of Arkansas and went on to enjoy a NASCAR career the span and scope of which are hard to measure in words. 40 Cup Series wins over 31 seasons and 5 championship runner-up seasons. 453 top 10 finishes, a total that ranks second only to Richard Petty. Add 49 nationwide and 7 Truck Series wins to those numbers, and it's easy to see a resume more than worthy of NASCAR Hall of Fame consideration. Arkansas, home to 2 gentlemen whose names are part and parcel with NASCAR history.
And Mark Martin is the only driver in NASCAR with at least 40 wins in both the Cup Series and the Nationwide Series. Bill Davis won his only championship as a team owner in 2008 in the Truck Series. And in 1992, then Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton once campaigned at Darlington during a race weekend. Short tracks are alive and well in the heart of racing. I-30 Speedway in Little Rock is a quarter-mile clay track that's been hosting stock cars, modifieds, and sprints for over 50 years. Racing is held there every Saturday night through October.
.5:30 Eastern, PFT on NBCSN.
And here's a look at our F1 schedule this weekend on NBCSN. Coverage begins Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern with practice number 2 on NBCSN. Qualifying can be seen Saturday at 11 a.m. over on CNBC. All right, guys, with Texas just around the corner this weekend, let's look back on our top 5 moments from the extremely fast mile-and-a-half track. At number 5, 1997, a packed house for the inaugural race. Fans were excited, but a huge crash on the first lap knocked out a bunch of great drivers.
A lot of people upset with this one, but I was not one of them. We went on to win the race that day with Jeff Burton.
Celebrating. Number 4, 1999. 2 years later, Texas native Terry Labonte passed Dale Jarrett with 10 laps to go to grab the win.
Yeah, this was a very popular win for Terry, and I know this was one of those races he really wanted to win in his home state.
At number 3, 2004, closest finish ever at Texas Motor Speedway, Elliott Sadler edges Casey Kane.
Career year for Elliott Sadler. Top 10 in the points that year and 2 Sprint Cup wins. Great year.
At number 2, in 2000, Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets his first Cup win at Texas Motor Speedway.
Probably the most popular win at Texas Motor Speedway right here with Pop and Victory Lane to give him a hug.
And number 1, 2008, Michael McDowell put the safer barriers to the test in Cup qualifying. Take a look at this hit, slamming the wall and then barrel rolling back down the track.
Rick, this is why Wally went into broadcasting.
and because Frankie left the wheel loose.
Oh, my goodness. And definitely have to let you know that he did walk away from that wreck. All right, guys, it's time to put you on the spot. Who should we keep our eye on this weekend? And I'll start with you, Wally.
Yeah, put the 48 up there and keep him up there until he wins, Rick. I mean, you know, he's going to be good at Texas. He's good on these type of racetracks. He's going to get his win. Could be here. I think another guy I'm going to keep my eye on is obviously Carl Edwards. He's another guy that gets around these type of racetracks really well. He's had some success here in the past. Those are the 2 guys for me to watch.
And I'm interested in the Roush drivers as a whole, more because of the fact of how good they were at Martinsville last weekend. Greg Biffle led 18 laps at Martinsville on the short track. He's only led 21 previous laps in 22 races there. So they've got their short track program figured out. I mean, they won Bristol with Carl. I want to see if they've also put enough time into their mile-and-a-half program.
All right, it's time to narrow it down. Who's going to win this weekend at Texas?
Matt Kenseth in the 20. That's what I'm going to take. I think, again, he's due. He's got a good race car. The Gibbs team seems to be always strong at this racetrack. I'm going with Matt.
I'm going with Jeff Gordon, solely based on California. He had the best car at California. I promise you, if you go back and watch that race, he drove from the back of the field twice in that race. And with that rough racetrack, is going to be very similar setup-wise to Texas. Jeff Gordon's going to be a dominant car there.
Great job, guys. We're going to look for either the 20 or 24 in Victory Lane this weekend. Thanks again
24.
to Wally and Frank. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. And Frank will be in studio next week with us here. From all of us here at NASCAR America, thanks for watching. We'll be back on Monday with a special start time at 6 p.m. Follow us on Twitter at NASCAR on NBC. Have a great weekend. Pro Football Talk is next.